Hello, everyone, and welcome to Class 8, Reflection as a Professional Practice. As you may have already guessed, we are going to be doing this class online, and the reason it's going to be an online class is because on March 29th at 4:16 p.m., my lovely wife gave birth to my second daughter. Her name is Naomi Elizabeth Lenny. So here's a picture. She was born at 7 pounds 14 ounces. Mummy and baby are happy and healthy in the hospital, and Daddy is already sleep deprived, so we're well on our way. But she's the reason, and I think a very good one, why we weren't able to have class this past week. So apologies for that, but I think as you can see by the picture, definitely well worth it. So this class is going to be online, so I want to talk briefly about this online activity. It's going to take you through a class very similar to what we would have done if we were in class. So we're going to follow pretty much the same steps. You're going to be asked to do the same activities and the same questions in the same order and all that kind of stuff. Only difference is that you get to do it from the comfort of your home. So a couple things before we get started. The first thing is that complete the entire activity. There will be a mixture of questions and videos. So I want to make sure that you go through the entire activity and it's, the whole process. Make sure you answer the questions. Make sure you watch the video, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you follow the instructions for each slide. If you get confused, you can always go back to the previous slide and then come back to the next slide. The other thing to note is that there's no time limit for this, so you can take as much time as you want to go through the activity. However, it's recommended that you complete this in one sitting, and what that means is you sit down to start it and you go through the whole thing. So it might take you anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half to complete. So if you don't have that much time at this point, you should pause the video and then come back later. The other thing is, once you've completed the entire activity, the goal at the end of it is for you to complete your reflective activity, your second reflective activity, and then you would submit that through the Dropbox on Slate. There are instructions in terms of the deadlines in a news announcement that I just posted. Now, because you're going to be focused on your second reflective activity, I want to start with what we're going to be doing for next class. So this will be on Monday. And the focus is you have to prepare by doing the reading Transformative Learning to Practice. Transformative Learning Theory to Practice. This is posted in Slate. It's also a direct link in the topical outline, as I noted in class. This is the reading that you're going to be using for the reflective activity you'll be doing in the next class. So it's really important that you do this reading prior to our next class. The other thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to kind of lay out a skeleton of your paper for your final paper, and what that means is you would lay out the different sections of your paper and how you plan to write it, and be prepared to share that as we'll be doing a little bit of a critique. The other thing that I wanted to talk briefly about was some of the feedback on your first reflective activity. Now, everybody has had their feedback or their reflections marked, and individual feedback has been sent back to you through the Dropbox. If you haven't seen that, make sure you take a look at it before beginning the reflective activity, because that feedback will help you do better on this activity. I do want to make a few general points regarding the feedback, just so that you can keep these things in mind as you're doing this activity for today. So, first thing, in the activity we did last time in class, I walked you through a series of questions and answers, and then I asked you to watch a video online and then to write your reflection. So what I noticed is that some people only wrote about the video and some people only wrote about the in-class task. So just keep in mind that the activity, the reason why we didn't watch the video in class was because of time, but the activity itself was supposed to be an entire activity, including the questions and the video. So with this activity, it's a good idea that you make sure you talk about both the questions that you're going to be guided through as well as the video that is in the Nearpod. So make sure you talk about both. The second thing is you have to ask yourself, did you talk about what and why you wrote what you wrote in response to the questions? And I know that's a very complex way that I've put it that or articulated that. But basically what that means is, for example, in class I asked you, what was the purpose of education? So in your reflections, it would have been a good idea, and some people did this and some people didn't. It's a good idea for you to talk about what that question made you think of and what you wrote in response to that question. You don't have to tell me everything that you wrote in response to that question, but a very brief summary of, when I was asked this question, this is what I wrote and this is why I wrote that. Okay. The other thing in regards to the activity is talking about your thoughts and feelings. So I had a few people who did a really good job talking about how the activity made them feel. So when I was only giving you 5 minutes and they felt pressured and they felt like this was a representation of the industrialized system, which is mechanized and based on time. And that's exactly what Ken Robinson was talking about. So they were able to kind of see the relationship between the activity that we did in class and the message of Ken Robinson's video. And all of that, by the way, was done intentionally. So that's talking about your thoughts and feelings as you go through the activity is just as valid. The next thing is did you connect the activity to the video? And that goes back to the point that I previously mentioned. So the idea that what we did during the activity was directly connected to the video. So we talked or asked you to reflect on what was the purpose of education, and the focus of Ken Robinson's talk was what is the purpose of education. So making those connections was really important. The other thing that you should ask yourself is did you connect your writing and your reflection to course content? And it doesn't just have to be within our course. It can be to other courses. It could be to the profession in general. It could be to any piece of literature that you've read, a book that you've read, a newspaper article, things that really connect with what it is that you're experiencing and what it reminds you of. And so this would be kind of, when you think about the what, so what, now what, this would kind of be in the so what section. Okay, so those are just some general things. Again, they don't apply to everybody, but some things that you should go through this list and say, did I do this? Did I do that? And if you missed doing some of those things, then make sure that you do that for the second reflection. So we're going to move on now to the actual activity itself. So when you're ready, you can click the next tab and it will bring you to the next slide. This will be the last audio that is available from me. So I hope you enjoy the activity, and if you have any questions or any issues with the activity, please feel free to email me. Take care, and we'll see you in class.